The idea that life on Earth has changed over time is supported by a large amount of scientific evidence. Evolution is not just a theory based on speculation. It is supported by observations and data from many different fields of science. Scientists study fossils, anatomical structures, embryology, and genetic information to understand how organisms have evolved and how different species are related to one another. These different types of evidence help us reconstruct the evolutionary history of life on Earth. One of the most important sources of evidence for evolution comes from the fossil record. Fossils are preserved remains or traces of organisms that lived in the past. These remains may include bones, shells, footprints, or impressions left in rock. Fossils provide a timeline of life on Earth, showing how different organisms appeared, changed, and sometimes became extinct over millions of years. By studying fossils in different rock layers, scientists can observe gradual changes in organisms over time. For example, fossil evidence shows how ancient land mammals gradually evolved into modern whales that live entirely in water. Another strong line of evidence for evolution comes from comparative anatomy, which is the study of similarities and differences in the structures of organisms. Many organisms share similar body structures, even though they may perform different functions. These similarities can indicate that organisms share a common ancestor. Structures that have similar anatomical features but may serve different functions are known as homologous structures. For example, the forelimbs of humans, whales, bats, and cats all contain similar bone arrangements, even though they are used for different purposes such as grasping, swimming, flying, or walking. These similarities suggest that these organisms evolved from a common ancestral species. Another interesting type of anatomical evidence is vestigial structures. Vestigial structures are body parts that no longer serve a major function, but remain as remnants of evolutionary history. For example, humans have a small tailbone called the coccyx, which is a leftover structure from ancestors that had tails. Similarly, some whales have tiny pelvic bones that are remnants of legs from their land-dwelling ancestors. Evidence for evolution also comes from comparative embryology, which studies the development of embryos in different species. Early embryos of many vertebrates, such as fish, birds, and mammals, show striking similarities in their development. These similarities suggest that these organisms share common genetic instructions inherited from a common ancestor. In recent decades, one of the strongest forms of evidence for evolution has come from molecular biology and DNA analysis. All living organisms use DNA to store genetic information. By comparing the DNA sequences of different organisms, scientists can determine how closely related they are. Species that share more similar DNA sequences are likely to have diverged from a common ancestor more recently. For example, humans share a large percentage of their DNA with other primates, which supports the idea that humans and apes share a common evolutionary ancestor. Proteins and genes can also be compared across species to reveal evolutionary relationships. These comparisons allow scientists to build phylogenetic trees, which are diagrams that show how species are related through evolutionary history. Molecular evidence has greatly improved our understanding of how life on Earth evolved and how different groups of organisms are connected. All of these forms of evidence, fossils, anatomical similarities, embryology, and DNA, work together to support the theory of evolution. Each type of evidence provides a different perspective, but together they create a consistent picture showing that species change over time and share common ancestry. In summary, evolution is supported by multiple lines of scientific evidence. Fossils reveal the history of life on Earth. Homologous structures show similarities among different species, vestigial structures reveal remnants of ancestral traits, and DNA comparisons demonstrate genetic relationships among organisms. By studying these forms of evidence, scientists continue to deepen our understanding of how life has evolved and diversified over billions of years.